Right, well, Lady there says recording in progress. So we better get this underway. On Tuesday, the 8th of August 2025, a special edition of a Podful of Saints, a collector's item, either season edition, exactly the same as all the rest of them. We're going to look back at the friendlies. We'll probably preview what's coming up and say anything about prices. Something I don't know what that's about. Right, with myself, David Tavener, the ever smiling and chuckling Jake Ellacott.
Hello, Dave. Thought you can say special edition because, we're not going to be in the Isthmian League long, are we? So, but maybe I've jinxed it now. Hello, everyone.
Where are we going? Hearts County League. And Lee Wood. Good evening, Lee.
Good evening, boys. How are we?
Chipper.
We'll see. We'll soon fix that, Tav. Don't worry about that, mate.
Right, we are going to start by looking back at our 7 pre-season games, the friendly games, which are absolutely meaningless. It's just good for getting players fit and getting them playing as a team. I know you two didn't go to all of them. I did suffer all of them. But unlike last year, it wasn't suffering like it was. Last year, the die was cast for the season. Get the ball, keep it in your own half, don't lose it. Don't even think about scoring, just don't lose it. This season, that's totally different. Ian Culverhouse has done a good job on changing the way we play. We look as though we're trying to win games. We're getting forward a lot quicker. And players are getting forward a lot quicker. He scored a few goals. It was 5-2 over Arsenal, 7-0 over Beaconsfield. Sound like we're hammering away non-stop. It wasn't like that. It was good finishing on the day, both games. But it does look a lot more pleasing to watch than what we saw last summer. Grounds for optimism, well, yes, because we're at a lower level, and this sort of football could see us being quite productive. We'll go into things a bit more in depth in a moment, but a quick overview from you two. What you got, Lee?
Jake, he's being positive. What do we do?
I don't know. Panic.
I mean, I only went to 2 or 3 pre-season. I mean, to be fair, pre-season friendlies, like all the women in my life, they just merge into one over the course of time. Mrs. Wood isn't around. That's good. I think you're right, Dave. I think if there's one thing we were guilty of at times last season, certainly the season before, we were overplaying. And when Ian came in, he wanted to sort of try and eradicate that passing for passing's sake. Brilliant. What I think we've done now, we've really just added to the squad the sort of players, his own players, and I think you can see the fruits of that now. I think from what I've seen, and I don't tend to sort of take too much out of the pre-season games, it's been good, fellas. It's been good. It's been spirited. We've looked attacking. We've looked, a young, hungry side. And whisper it quietly, it's good to watch, and hopefully we can sort of take that into the season. Then, God forbid, we might actually do something.
What about you, Jake? Are you going to make it 3 out of 3? Because you were let out to watch a couple of them, I think, 2 or 3 of them.
Disappointingly, I am actually going to be positive as well, which means the season is now kiboshed totally. Yeah, it has looked good over the summer. As you say, Dave, I think last summer, we talked about, didn't we, on this podcast, we didn't really trust your opinion, and we sort of said, oh, the lads are just bedding in, it'll be fine, right? And then 8 months later, Dave was right. But I think this time you are correct in the summer, in the sense of it does look a lot more positive, doesn't it, on the pitch? I think around the management team, on the pitch at least, it feels really positive. The team we've built, I think it's an interesting mix of experience and players that I think we're taking a bit of a punt on in terms of from divisions below. But it seems to be good. And like you say, the best thing about it is just in those forward areas, how bright we look, how positive we look. We're trying to get the ball in. And what is notable, actually, the balls, when we're getting them in, they actually have a bit of quality on them. And there's people in the box that are actually trying to meet them as well. They're not just trying to pass it around the edge of the box. They're getting it in there, and people are trying to get shots away. So that's really, really good. And I think a massive change compared to where we were 12 months ago.
Yeah, the 7 games, they weren't wildly exciting. The Luton Town and Wealdstone matches were particularly uninspiring. But 4 successive clean sheets, it means nothing pre-season, but it's nice to do it. 5 straight wins. People say, don't win your pre-season games. Save it for the big games. Well, 5 straight wins. We haven't had a run like that since 1992 when we won 7 in a row. That season didn't work out too badly, Lee, did it?
Not at all, Dave. But I think touching back on what Jake said previously, it's what we're encountering. We're encountering new frames of some very old ideas in so much that, those attackers that we've brought into the club, they're now prepared to take risks, be brave, back their talent, and take on the opposition. They're getting to the byline and they're getting those crosses in. And what I like about it, as Jake said, we're getting the balls in early before their defence has time to sort of set itself. So we're already causing problems. And with the likes of, I'm going to mention it, Wall up front, he got some criticism towards the back end of the season last year, and rightly so. But this year, this pre-season, I think he's looked lean, he's looked strong, and with the frequency of deliveries into that box, as Jake said, we're going to need someone like him to be on the end of those, because I think one of the reasons that wasn't happening so much last season is because the target man up front, that wasn't their strong point. But now we're playing to our strong point. We're just getting it in the box early. We're causing problems. We're causing issues for the opposition. And for that, really, we've got the players around us now. Leo Siri, I think I've been really impressed by him. Although people were sort of saying he's come up from fine, but he looks hungry. He's quick feet, good on the ball. He's always got his head up looking for that killer pass. And I think that Ian and Bazza and Harry have recruited extremely well over the course of the summer. And we've got players now who, okay, fine, you can take out a pre-season games, whatever you want to have, but ultimately you can beat what's put in front of you, mate. And ultimately they're putting some really good shifts. The performances have been good, quick, excellent football at times, attacking football. But I think a nod as well to the players that were there last season, your Jenningses and your Sweets and Zane, of course. They've really sort of kicked this squad on. They've united all of these new players, and everyone to a man. They look decent on the ball, comfortable, but they look to attack with it as well. It's not just passing along the back, pass to the holding midfield. He passed it out wide, and then we're done, and then we reset again. Attacking football. We don't know what to make of half these players until we really, they kick a ball in anger. But until that point comes, we've got to be impressed with what they've offered up to date.
Yeah, the first 3 games, good fixtures to give us a good idea where we're going to be next season. 3 decent sides, 3 sides that are likely to be up there. So that is good. I wouldn't go quite as far overboard as I felt you did there, Lee. Because funny enough, I don't think Jack James or Zane Banton have really shone yet this summer. I wouldn't worry about them. We know how good they are, but there's better to come from them. But they haven't, to me, really stood out in these 7 games. But I'm not worried about that at all. They'll be all right. Jack James actually at Real Bedford on Saturday, he got sent off. 2 bookable offences. How he did not get sent off for the first one, I will never know. He's one of the worst tackles I've ever seen in the pre-season game. I think the bloke he hit has just landed. But he had to go for the second one. 2 years ago, referees would have said substitute this player, but he didn't. He just gave him a booking for the first one. He let him off. But hopefully that's not something we're going to see too often. But our discipline actually has not been great pre-season with 4 bookings, which is a bit higher than usual. But I wouldn't read too much into that. I think
people sort of trying to make a name. People sort of trying to make an impact. Maybe trying to impress, get around the pitch a little bit, Tabs. Maybe, or is it just bad tackles?
I think one Saturday, I don't know what it was, mistimed. It looked as though he set off about 10 minutes before he got there. But the other bookings, a couple of them I don't like. Because it was a deliberate trip. Now, to me, even the friendly, you've got to book them. You've got to stop them doing that. But I'll come on to that in a moment and we'll go through the games. But I'm going to start with the Maidstone game, because that was the first time we've seen this lot of players together. And a strange friendly to get. Apparently, Ian wanted higher ranking opposition away from home for whatever reason. Early on, we had a couple of decent chances. George Sippets and Jasper Maffa both had good chances. We didn't take them. After that, we didn't do an awful lot. But even then, you could see there were attempts to get the ball wide and get forward quicker than we saw last season. From your first game, higher opposition, the same as us. They had a load of trialists out there. We didn't. We had the new signings. So they've had quite a few first teams as well. You wouldn't read too much into it. It was a reasonable start, not an exciting day. And the traffic on the M25 getting there was shocking. Then the next one, I think you two went to this one, Arsenal under-21s at home. It should actually be called the Arsenal well under-21s because of the 22 players they used, 5 of them are in their under-21 squad. Most of them are 18, 17-year-olds, and one was 16. And I thought it showed. They saw plenty of the ball, but they didn't hurt us. We were quite comfortable in that game at the back. I don't know what you two made of it.
Yeah.
It's always easy when you go a goal up after 5 seconds or whatever it is, though, isn't it? So it's it really sort of eases yourself into the fixture. It seems to, I mean, look, what I would say to you then, Taz, is that I've sort of cherry picked a couple of players. Sippets one, Leo Seri another. Are there any players that have impressed you, or I know it's hard to impress you, Dave, but have you thought, well, hang on a minute, given a little bit more time and given a little bit more coaching, these players could be really good for us this season?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Sippets. So I'm glad we've got him. But at Maidstone, I don't like to use the word lightweight, but he looked lightweight. They muscled him off the ball far too easily. You look at him, he's slight. And he is going to get knocked about at this level. But I still fancy him to get a few goals. I think Jesper Maffa will get more. He's got a record the last couple of seasons with Bognor doing quite well. Couldn't save him from relegation last year. I think he'll get well. But here's another one. Again, a little bit lightweight. May get knocked off a bit easily, but he can go past players, and he looks a threat. Ian's played him fairly central. He's played him out on the wing as well, which is quite interesting. And I say he can go past players. He does create chances for others, and he looks like he's going to be quite useful. Whereas his goals he's got the last 2 seasons, he could be coming into his prime. He's still quite young, and it could be a very decent signing. Seri got those 3 goals in the win at Beaconsfield Town, the 7-0 win. He was with a club last year, suffered relegation, Hendon. You wouldn't want to read too much into that. Previously with Harrow, so it's a bigger club than what he's been at before. Well, we used to get decent gates. And I agree with you, he's another one that could stand out, but a few of them, they could. You just need a bit of experience, which we'll come on to in a moment as well, to carry them through. From what you two have heard, any other players, Jake, anyone you've got high hopes for?
The high hopes, cool. I think we've identified a lot of them so far, to be honest. I think those are names that have certainly stood out in the games that I've seen. I'm interested, actually. Kieran Gauthier, he wasn't really part of the picture last season at all, was he? But he's featured a decent amount this summer so far. And I think when he signed, it was quite early on. And I think a lot of fans were like, that's an interesting one. But I think he's looked okay at times, especially at Ebbsfleet. I thought against Ebbsfleet, he looked okay. And I thought what was notable was I think when he's got someone alongside him that's experienced, and we've certainly got some experienced defenders, it's fair to say this summer, that he actually looks, I think, pretty good alongside someone that can sort of coach him into the game. And he's sort of covering the hard miles while they're sort of doing the more experienced clearing up work at the back. So I think he is one that could potentially have a good season as long as he gets some opportunity and game time, I'd say.
Talking of the Arsenal game there, you mentioned Alex Wall scored in about 2 seconds late. And it came from that hideous mistake by the goalkeeper. Passed the ball straight to him because it was that passing around at the back. It cost size goals and it cost Arsenal 1 there. Then later in the first half, of course, our goalkeeper, Magnus Norman, he did the same thing down the other end. And Arsenal said, thanks so much, and equalised. Now, Norman, I couldn't believe it when he signed. Got not a flood, got a few messages from people saying, what are we doing signing him? Unimpressed. Well, last season, second half of the season, played 1 game for Dorking, the County Cup. I don't think he played before that, or previous season. And in the game at Maidstone, he got beaten at his near post from a free kick. Pretty much the only thing he had to deal with, apart from crosses. And again, the Arsenal game, he gave that one away. So I think these people got a point. But in the following games, when he wasn't letting goals in, he wasn't really tested. These sides just weren't able to get at us. But in the last two, Ebbsfleet and Saturday at Real Bedford, I know he let 4 in on Saturday, but he made some really good saves and he looked a decent keeper, and it could be a good one this season for us. Michael Johnson was good for us. I was sorry to see him go. I know you weren't, but I think for this level at least, he's going to be a good signing.
I think it's going to be. Yeah, I agree. And the thing is, with Norman, he's suffered, hasn't he, quite a lot of injuries. And I think if he can stay fit, which is a big if for quite a number of our squad at the minute, you're looking at it there. He's a good keeper. You know, he's got a good caliber behind him. He's got a good body of work. And I've got no doubt if he can stay fit, he'll be a real asset. And I know you mentioned Wall there, Tabs. The thing is, similar to Norman, you know, when we signed him, we were very underwhelmed at first. But I think he's got a summer to get himself fit, like all of these people. And you're going to mention the likes of Fifield and Bostwick and, you know, these experienced players within the league. But ultimately, you're going to need that, as Jake said, because we've got some unknown quantities in our squad. And Kieran Gauthier is going to benefit from playing along the likes of Fifield and Bostwick. No two ways about it. There will be question marks raised over most of the signings simply because, you know, they're unknown to us. But as we've always said, and we've preached for well over a year, trust in what Ian and Bazza have to do. It's really weird, isn't it? Because you look at the players that have come in, and Jake Wall's a prime example now, because we don't know the situation with Harrison Smith, right? Again, with injuries have been blighted his career. We don't know the situation with him. Are we going to get the consistency from him that we need? Is he going to be the threat that we need? So until that point comes, Jake Wall is going to need to be, you know, the focal point of this team. And I think bar maybe a season at Concord, I wouldn't say he's been a prolific striker, but he's a front man. And I think he is a very important piece of a wider puzzle, if you like. And I think what we're trying to build here now is really exciting. It's almost like a counter a narrative, because what's happening on the pitch is sort of overshadowing the perception of failure from what's happening off of it. So I think it's really exciting to see these players come through. The pre-season games have been what they are. And as you said, right at the very start, Taz, getting minutes into the legs of these players, building that connection between the squad. And yes, we've got some very hard games coming up, but I think they're ready. I think they're going to be as ready as they're ever going to be, because I think one of your key points this time last year, Taz, was the lack of pre-season games. We've had 7 good outings now. And I think that going forward, this squad with the youth and experience is going to set us in good stead.
No, I think 7 games is ample. You certainly don't need more than that. Harrison Smith is a good point. If he were fit, I think we would do a lot better, because I fancy him at this level to get a few goals. He's not featured at all pre-season, and the club, as usual, and it's great communication with supporters, have told us not a thing about what's going on with him, as far as I've seen anyway. And him, well, it looks like he's going to miss the start, doesn't it? Unless it's miraculous recovery, unless you two have got anything on him. Sorry about that.
That's right.
Injuries also. And Ebbsfleet supporters spoke of Lewis Page, because that's where we got him from. They said, good player, but again, injury prone. So there's another one. We've got, as Lee mentioned, we've got a few there who are suspect of getting injuries.
I may be imagining this, but I thought Harrison Smith was mentioned in a post-match interview in terms of managing his fitness over the summer, just because of that knock, and they sort of got him on his own sort of plan ready for the new season. Of course, really, it's this wait to see, because in terms of fitness, match fitness is very different, isn't it, to training on your, well, not on your own, but training as part of a squad, but not actually playing in proper competitive matches. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. And you've both mentioned the fitness levels of certain players in the squad and trying to keep the squad fit. I think we've been burnt previously, haven't we, with keepers with injury records that have cost us at times. Hopefully that doesn't happen in this case. And players like Lewis Page, I think that is why we've got a few fullbacks in the squad that can try and cover for any gaps. And it's also worth mentioning we've got a couple less games, haven't we, now at this level? So a little bit more opportunity. I mean, hopefully we don't get knocked out early in the cups, but there will be, I think, a few more 3 weeks to try and rotate players potentially.
Yeah, you're right, Jay. A couple of fewer home games this season, so obviously the cost of a season ticket will go. Oh no, it didn't go down, did it? Right after the Luton Town game, won by Kieran Gauthier goal. It's a collector's item, just like this edition of the podcast. We went off to Beaconsfield Town. Leo Serry got his hat trick. A few other people got to go. You can only beat what you put in front of you, as a phrase you often use, Lee. And my God, that was a case of it that night. They were awful. Beaconsfield was awful beyond belief. But we kept our shape. We played our game, always in control from start to finish. I don't think they had a shot from what I can remember. And it was as comfortable as the scoreline suggests. Which is nice to throw in one like that, because you do need to get some goals pre-season. We got those 5 against Arsenal kids, obviously. But this was not higher standards. They proved it won't. But it's just nice to get something like that. You don't want to get a bad result losing to a lower league opposition pre-season. So I don't know what you two made of it, but it was as comfortable as it sounds.
I have to say, for someone who's been so positive, you look so despondent, Dave. I've got is it like a default setting for you, mate? I mean, I think so. Jake and I, we watched a couple of the pre-season games, and we turned to each other and said, well, we like what we see. But again, you can only read so much into it, mate. And I know what you're saying, because they mean nothing at the end of the day. But if you're beating teams 7-0 or whatever, that's going to give that player so much more confidence. And that reason for being, as though Leo Serry, for example, he scored 3 goals for Albans City. He's now going to feel part of that team. He's earned that spot, and that builds confidence. And we're going to need confidence going into the opening game of the season on Saturday. So I think people take what they need out of pre-season games, whether it's fitness, whether it's confidence, whether it's results, and it is what it is, fellas. But ultimately, I've been impressed this pre-season, just in terms of the way that Ian Culverhouse and Paul Bastock have managed to forge together a squad of players, and in a relatively short space of time, have got them playing some good attacking football. Win-win.
How can you turn to Jake and say you like what you see, for goodness sake? Right. Next one was Wealdstone at home. It wasn't the worst friendly you'd ever see, but it wasn't the most exciting either. Now, I'm going to make my first prediction of the season here, as Wealdstone are going on what we saw. I know there are trialists out there. Wealdstone are going down. They just survived last year. I can't see them doing it this year.
Wow.
I'd be quite happy if they proved me wrong. Nothing personally against Wealdstone. I remember going there, Lower Mead in 1970, and seeing John Butterfield scored a hat-trick. We've got nothing to do with this. Winning goal late in the game, Tom Jennings. My goodness, he smacked that in well. One of the youngsters coming through from down below. Unlikely, well, he's not going to start. Hope for a place on the bench. But the club has given some of these youngsters from the lower level a chance this summer, which is nice to see, because he's played roughly 18 to 20 players each game. So he's given a run out to a lot of them. And yeah, it's a great finish.
Yeah, and it's nice to see, isn't it? Again, Paul and Ian, when you look at them as a management team, you probably think, right, they're here for success, get promoted, that's it. But actually, for them to give these sort of players an opportunity, like say Dave, the reality is he's probably not going to feature much at the start of the season, although we don't know. But it's good to know Ian and Paul have that faith. And also, we've mentioned injuries. If we do have a crisis and we need some players to come in, then it looks like they've got players lined up potentially that they're already thinking, right, they can fill in gaps in the squad. And I think also with Nick Ralph, it looks like he's going to be in the first team picture this summer or this season. And I think that was a surprise again to a lot of Saints fans, given that last season he was out on loan and, it wasn't definite that he was going to get a contract for this campaign. So I think it's nice to see. And I think part of that is also, Paul Bastock, he loves the club, doesn't he? And I think he would love nothing more than to have some St Albans City lads coming through from the academy and playing for the first team in whatever guise that is this season. Yeah.
Last time we played Wealdstone, the friendly, there was a bloke called Alex Dyer playing for him. What happened to him? Right, so last home game of this pre-season was Ebbsfleet United on a Wednesday night. That was interesting, but they were unimpressive for quite a while in that game, but they stepped it up later on. And this is a game when Magnus Norman showed he could be a decent keeper. He made some good saves in that one. Riley's got the winning goal again towards the end of the second half. He's interesting. Where was he? Is he Dulwich Hamlet? I think he came from. He does like to look for a long diagonal ball to open sides up on cross field passes. I wouldn't say a high percentage reach at target, but he looks to open sides up, and there's something about him. And I don't know. He's one who's going to be interesting. To me, it's similar to Sam Smart, who played out on the right early on, and he got some good crosses in the first couple of games. Now, as the games went on, I thought he started to disappear, and he disappeared completely in the first half Saturday at Bedford. But Ian knows him well, had him at Bedford, had him at Boston, sorry. And you look at him, he just looks a decent footballer. So I think once we get into the proper games, hopefully we'll see the true him, because we didn't see it pre-season after the first few games. So yeah, the FC game. Were either of you at that one? Yes, you were, weren't you?
We were indeed. Yeah, it was easy to spot us. I think Smart and Scott, actually both of them, I think could be really important players this season. We've heard good things from Scott, from Ben, the pastime Dulwich fan, and his connections down there. He was saying that Scott, at times last season maybe didn't get the opportunities that he deserved at Dulwich, but looked decent. And I think Smart just brings that little bit of experience again, doesn't he? Same as you, Dave. I thought he looked really good out wide actually early on. And then it's just faltered a little bit potentially. So, but I think both of them, I think if we get a good start to the season, it wouldn't be shocked if both of them play an important part.
Yeah. Memories of Ebbsfleet, Lee?
Not good ones, mate, I've got to say. Being a goal down after 10 seconds. Yeah, not great.
It was quicker than that, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Great stuff.
Well, should we go back to when they were called Gravesend then? And we beat them in the FA Cup down at their place in was it the first round? Yeah, it was the first round in 1918 when we played Torquay in the next round. Those two titanic tussles with them, where the first one was. Right, which has got nothing to do with last Wednesday's game, is it really?
No.
Okay.
Has it ever?
No, not usually. So now we come on to the final game of the summer, Real Bedford. You drive in there, and it's on the same site as Bedford Town. Bedford Town's there, Real Bedford there. Park up and walk in. Don't go to the wrong one, because you'll end up watching some FA Cup tie when there's a far more important friendly going on next door. Watching them, I thought, oh no, they're one of these sides that just play it around at the back. And they did early on. They were playing it around at the back, and they just refused to hoof it. And they got caught time and again in the first quarter an hour or so. Once they're a decent side, a better side, a higher level maybe, would have punished them quite a bit. But it's worked well for them. 3 successive promotions under Rob Sinclair. He knows what he's doing. When you watch them when they go forward and they play it the same way, but my God, they do it at speed. They were terrific to watch when they went forward, particularly in the first half. The second half died on its feet. And they were a joy to watch. And they're the best side we played this summer. I've got no doubt about that. Forget Arsenal's kids and Ebbsfleet, who got better as the game went on. Real Bedford were the best side we played. And enjoy to watch. But it's also a game that threw up the concerns, because we had that. It ended a run of 5 wins. It ended a run of 4 games without conceding a goal. Ian Culverhouse went with playing the 3 experienced players together, shall we say? Jamel Fifield, Alex Dyer, and Michael Bostwick, all 3 together. Can't do it. There's not a lot of pace between the 3 of them individually, and collectively it's not a lot faster. And a quick side like Bedford, they exposed it. But also, more worryingly, you got the experience of those 3 players. 2 of the goals came from set pieces, banged into the box, and the player heading home. What were we doing? We weren't awake. But I think that's hopefully a lesson learned. You might get away with 2. playing 2 of them at a time, as Ian's done most of the pre-season. But 3 is pushing your luck a bit far. I don't know what feedback you two got on the game.
Yeah, I think first of all, Matt was there, viewer, podcast, and he was saying that it felt like Real Bedford just took the game a lot more seriously and looked a lot more ready for it than us potentially. And I think that sounds like it's fair feedback. And yeah, I think in terms of that experienced trio, I would look at the trend overall of pre-season and Ian and Paul only going with 2 of them, and maybe Saturday just being sort of almost a confirmation for them going, right, we can't go down that route. We've gone with 2 for most of the summer, and that's what we're going to stick with. So hopefully that's the plan. And I am concerned about those set pieces you mentioned, Dave. We've suffered enough for set pieces over the last 2-3 years. So I don't want that to be repeated again. So, but I think the feedback from a lot of the Saints fans, that a lot weren't there, but most fans weren't really too concerned by Saturday's result. Obviously, what they've seen over the summer is positive, and we have to say that Real Bedford is certainly a club and a team that's got high expectations there, don't they, and high hopes, and I'm sure a lot of money involved there. So yeah.
Anything to add on that game, Lee?
Nope.
Right, I'll go and put the dinner on then. Right. Right. Okay. So that concludes friendlies. The attendance at Bedford, they were pleased with it. It was they gave it a 364, which beats the approximately just over 40 at Beaconsfield. Our first home game against Arsenal, 1,443. Pleased with that?
You're asking the wrong people, mate, aren't you? I guess, the weather wasn't great in the build-up to the game from memory. It was lashing down with rain intermittently. I think there were some issues at the turnstiles. They only had a few of the turnstiles open, so the queues were longer to sort of get in. But that wouldn't have affected the attendance per se. But again, it might have looked sparse at the start compared to later on in the game. I just think it is what it is, fellas. It's very much of an unknown, isn't it, going into a pre-season, especially after you got a relegated. You don't know any of the players. Arsenal is still a big draw, whether it's the under-21s, the tea ladies, the kids, whatever. You still, 1,400 it's still good, right? It's still good. I think a very unfair comparison that I'm sure you're going to make at some stage, where we were having the first team and there were 3,500, etc., etc. But those games don't materialise anymore. So I think the club could be happy. I don't. 1,400 for any pre-season, Dave, is good.
You think it's pretty good. You imagine most supporters will be happy with it. But we can look at it in more detail, because supporters are concerned about it because of the prices and people not going. And was this the first time we saw that effect? It looked good when you look into it. Previous year, we had Tottenham under-21s, and it was 400 down on that. The last time we had Arsenal under-21s, it was 1,200 down on that. 2,600 last time they came. You can't make direct comparisons, but people are aware of these things, knowing the bad feeling amongst supporters towards the club at the moment. And yeah, you look at the Luton game. What was it, 300 and something we announced this time? Last year, 960. The Ebbsfleet game, that was 60% down on last time they came. So there are worrying trends there. You can't read too much into it. It's pre-season, but there are worrying trends there. And the concern voiced by supporters, it may be coming true, but we won't know really until the league game starts.
Okay. I don't believe supporters are concerned about the attendances of the pre-season games being particularly down, because the pricing was decent. Was it a tenner to get in? As far as the Luton game is concerned, they had another game that day, which I think featured more of the first team than the team that got sent to Clarence Park. So I think most of the Luton fans would have gone to the second game. The pricing was good. I know that there is an argument to be made about fans just not attending games at Clarence Park because of the fallout of what's happened over the course of summer. And I have no doubt You'll get onto that shortly in some greater depth. But I don't believe the attendances for the Arsenal game. I think the weather played a part as well, and I think just people are picking and choosing their games a bit more liberally these days, especially with pre-season.
That's wasn't that bad. I'm sure Fred went in his shorts. Wasn't that bad a night?
I went in my shorts, mate. It was hot.
There you go.
It was still pissing down the rain at 6:30. So it was. Hey, I'm lucky I bumped into Jake because I thought the game was at 7:30. So it was. I was like, "What are you doing here, mate? It's a bit early." But there you go. All about communication. Communication is key.
Right. Do you want to do a preview of the first couple of league games, or should we do a bit on the pricing?
Let's preview the games first before we get
down that route. Yeah,
bogged down.
Right, this Saturday, home to Chattam Town. It's their third season in the Isthmian League Premier Division. Finished second and ninth last season. So they're obviously fading away and going to get a damn good thrashing Saturday. They beat National League Southside last season, beat Welling in the FA Cup, but lost to Slough in the next round of the Cup and also on penalties in the trophy. So what does that tell you? I don't know. There's no players there have come through our gates before. I think people expect things from them this season. I say it's one of 3 good tests in our first week. Your thoughts on it? You want to go first, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say beating Welling last season wasn't a particularly high bar, even though we struggled.
We didn't do
it. Yeah, I mean, I think last season was a bit of a disappointment for Chatham after that second place finish the season before. I think last campaign there was high expectations. They didn't meet it. And I suspect this season they will be going out there to look to compete for the title. They've got a decent budget from what we've heard. We don't know figures, but we've heard it's decent budget. And as I understand it, they are at least part full time. They at least train some mornings in the week. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on, but it will be a really big test. I think it will be quite a physical game potentially on Saturday. And I think it's going to be a challenge to see how we balance the experience we've got with those lads that have come through that are a little bit more inexperienced, maybe a bit more slighter, and how we find that. And I wouldn't be shocked if it's quite direct at times on Saturday from both teams. But it could be an entertaining one. But like you say, Dave, these first 3 games, of course, it's really early on, and the squad needs time to gel. I think if we all go in expecting 9 points, I think that we're deluded. But it's going to be difficult, and maybe it's a case of a little bit of patience might be needed in these first few games.
How much patience you got for Saturday, Lee?
Absolutely sod all, mate. I'm going there for the win. I mirrored Jake's concerns about the expectation levels of City fans. I mean, they've been billed as the Man City of Kent, haven't they? They're spending good money after that. So it's a case of they've got some good players though. I see today that they signed Ben Allen, who's been playing for them in pre-season, banging in goals as well. They've got some good players, but then that said, there's, I don't know, call it alcoholism, call it naivety, call it, just perception as well. I just feel that St Albans City at home, I want to start winning games of football again, which we didn't do a lot last season. So I think it's just a case of the fact that we need to hit the ground running. And I'm not saying in terms of results per se, although that would be nice, performances, because the results will come from those. And what I've seen in pre-season, it's a good foundation. It's a really good base, Dave. And I think that I know that quite rightly you're sceptical, but I think it's probably your age. But I like what we're building here. And Chattam are going to pose a threat. There's no doubt about it. And the first 3 fixtures are going to give us a real good indication about just how far we've come. But it's not as though we're playing, we're not putting out 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. Although they're young, they've still been established at good football teams, albeit a level below. So I fully expect us to stand up and A, be competitive, B, be creative, and hopefully from that, we might get a result. Nothing to fear.
Right. On the team selection, I've got some questions here, all from one person actually. Nobody else could be bothered to watch this. He thinks our forwards, also excluding Alex Wall, is going to find it tough against the stronger and more physical teams, which Jake has mentioned. And he asked what formation we were playing. I haven't got a clue. When it's 1 to 11, I knew what was going on. But do you expect Ian to start with 2 strikers on Saturday, or at least 2 strikers?
I do, yes. I think it wouldn't be. I think because of Harrison Smith's situation, I think it would probably be Alex Wall, maybe leading the line. And then maybe someone like Leo Seri playing off him at least, if not a third as well. If it's not Alex Wall, I would quite like Jasper Matthews or Mayfer, sorry, to start. I think he's decent, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's sort of like Lee said earlier, someone that's leading the line, and then at least 1, if not 2, sort of playing off him, trying to use their pace to get in behind potentially.
You go with that, Lee?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we saw flashes of this at the Ebbsfleet game. The Ebbsfleet back line were absolute units, and they thought early doors they'd try and give Alex Wall a little bit of like a rough sort of time. He wasn't for budging, mate. And I think that's just down to his strength and his desire as well. He was giving just as good as he was getting. And I think we're going to come across that more often than not in this division. And I think those are the sorts of players, Alex Walls, etc., and Bostwicks and your Firefields that have got to stand up now and show that they're hungry for the shirt. I mean, they've been up there and they've played for higher teams, but this shirt means a lot more to a lot of people. So I think Alex's performance against Ebbsfleet, for me, I think he's nailed on starter on Saturday. And with the attacking threat we have now coming from midfield is unprecedented compared to what we've had over the last 2 or 3 years. Good runners, good pace, good energy, high octane stuff, good football to feet, passing, getting to the byline, crosses it in early. Movement has been exceptional sometimes. It really has. So it all bodes well. It's just a matter of whether we can keep them out at the other end as well, which is really going to be the concern for me.
We mentioned the speeds coming forward from midfield there. The question here from the same person, Andy, is concerned about lack of pace at the back, which I think is genuine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Particularly if we do go, I shouldn't call them the older players, the experienced players. We have seen them, Fifield and Dyer, when they've lost the balls pre-season, they simply tripped the player as they've gone past them, which is not great.
Beautiful stuff.
It's not a great way to play the game.
Mm.
Dyer picked up 1 booking for it, and Fifield could have one as well. So that is a bit of a concern. It'd be interesting to see how it works out Saturday, and from then we'll have a better idea. Where else have we got pace in the back forward? Jack James isn't the quickest. Lewis Page looks quite nippy, but will that possibly mean James Sweet might be pushed back?
Potentially.
Yeah, I know that Sweet is sort of played in the back, hasn't he? He played along that back 3 before. Jake made a point earlier on, actually. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Gautier slots in there somewhere. Just to add that, I liked Gautier the start of last season when he played. I think one criticism was the fact he was lightweight, a phrase that you like today, Tabs. But I think with those around him, he's grown. He's grown his game. He's got a bit of pace as well. So, and they say Page, Sweet, James. It's difficult, isn't it? Because Ian, and quite rightly so, they've tweaked the formations pretty much every game over the course of the pre-season, and that's what it's for. It'd be really interesting to see who he partners up at the back. As I say, going forward, I'm not too concerned because I think we've shown something about us that we can cause problems for any team. I think it's just keeping the goals out, and I think that's going to be a really big headache for Ian and Bazza going to Saturday. Well,
one of the things we don't moan, do we? We never moan. Mentioned in recent seasons, that's what you pointed, Jake, is a lack of leadership on the pitch. I mean, last season we had a goalkeeper as captain. I never agree with that. I don't see that at all. So something happened down the end of the pitch. We saw Michael Johnson go down there, have a word with the referee. No, you're in goal. Get back there. With these more experienced players. You've got Dyer, you've got Fifield. Certainly, Bostwick's a leader. How many games he's going to start, I don't know. I don't think he started a game since last November, a proper game. But you think those two there got more experience. But Zane has actually been captain pre-season. But you'd like to think we have got players in there going to offer us a bit more leadership on the pitch, because it was sadly lacking last season.
It was, but I think Zane is the captain, and I think he's earned the right to be that, if I'm honest. I mean, he is the talisman, isn't he? He could have gone elsewhere in the summer, and he didn't. He chose to stay with us, and I think he has thrived, and I think he will continue to thrive as captain. He was great anyway, but I think giving him the armband, the extra responsibility, you are now in charge of dragging these young men up into the National League South. I don't think Bostwick or Fifield or Dyer, it will benefit their game by being captain. And as you say, they're leaders anyway. They don't need that extra responsibility in order to provide for the team. Bostwick doesn't need to be captain in order to play well, and the same with Fifield and Dyer. Whereas I think Banton, although he doesn't need the captaincy to play well, I think it elevates him to yet another level, and I think he's earned that right. He's the last one of the only 4 ones that are left. He's going to be pretty much an ever present, given in injury. So I think he's earned the right to be captain. I didn't mean you, mate. Oh, there he is. He's back.
Oh, he's back again.
I'm back.
What happened there?
I don't know.
You fell asleep earlier than usual, Jake.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was ranting. Sorry, boys. Yeah, go on. Yeah, carry on. But no, leaders, we've got plenty. Don't worry.
You're happy with the leaders we got, Jake? It looks like if things are going against us on the pitch, we have people out there now who may be able to change it or G things up or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got leaders. This was a big part of the fans' forum, wasn't it? Talk about leaders as part of the squad they were missing last season, and we've got them now. So hopefully they can step up in those tricky times, because they didn't. Well, no one stepped up really, did they, last season in terms of leading on the pitch? So hopefully this summer or this season will be very different.
You wouldn't know what was said at the fans' forum, Tabs, because you weren't there, mate.
No, I wasn't there, and I tell you, I'm so glad I wasn't. Mind you, so quite a few other people who were there. Right, that was sort of a preview of Chattam Town. Next Tuesday, away to Brentwood Town. They've been consistent in the Isthmian League North for the past 4 seasons. Got promoted at the end of last season. It's only their second season at this level. They had 1 year before in 2015-16. They didn't like it much, so they dropped back down again. But they beat some decent sides last year, as well as getting promoted. Clay Wanderers penalties, Clay Valley Paper Mills and Hereford in the FA Trophy last season. So this side has got a bit of pedigree. People say they've got a bit of money behind them. I think they fancy themselves, don't they?
Brentwood Town away on Tuesday night. Welcome back to the Isthmian League and Albans City Football Club.
What? Clay Valley Paper Mills. What has happened? What is going on here, boys? We've got to get out of this league. For the love of God.
It's certainly a test, isn't it? It's really, you've got to get used to these sort of games very quickly, and it is going to be difficult. But I think it will be quite a different game to Saturday against Chattam. I don't know why I think that. I don't know anything about Brentwood. We'll learn these things, but it's going to be a challenge. And I think it's going straight into, isn't it, of the squad and the fitness level straight away. Who do we see potentially drop out and come back in, particularly from those experienced players from Saturday to Tuesday, and how Ian and Paul are going to balance that? I think that's going to be really interesting to see, and whether the squad is deep enough for the challenges that it's going to be facing.
Right. Before we get on to the ticketing pricing, we better do some predictions for Saturday, Chattam Town. Oh, lordy dordy. I'm going to go for, I'll go first, take the pressure off you two. I don't know why. 2-0 win. Very little faith in that happening, but we go for it.
Ooh.
Go on, Jacob.
I mean, I was going to say 2-1 Saints. We start with a classic. I mean, as we go.
What was that,
You
mate?
know,
Sorry.
2-1 Saints.
Oh, there we go.
Go on, Lee.
I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
And you can do kick-off Tuesday as well, Lee, while you're there.
Yeah. Hope that fence is strong because I'm going to go for another draw. I think I'm going to go for 2-2 on Tuesday.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Jake?
interesting. I was going to go 0-0 Tuesday.
Two of you sitting on the fence. A nice night out in Essex, late summer. What more could you want? 3-1 defeat. Right, that's out of the way. Do we also want to predict who's going to win the league this season? Quickly chuck in a top 3 there. If you haven't looked at the sides or in it, which is probably a bit unfair. Well, where is it? I've got it here somewhere. Some of these clubs. Right. We got Aveley kicking off the season on Friday, home to Brentwood. Big Essex derby, that'd be a sellout. Because Aveley pack them in. Billericay, Brentwood, Burgess Hill, Canvey Island, Carshalton Affiliate, Chattam Town, Chester City, Bay Valley, Paper Bills, your favourite, Lee. Vencray Wanderers, Dartford, Dulwich Hamlet, Folkestone Invicta at Margate. Don't forget when we go there, whatever club date the club decides going to be. Hashtag United, which is back at Aveley's ground. Lewis, good. Potters Bar Town. Ramsgate, us. Welling United, Whitehawk and Wingate and Finchley. Right, alphabetically, it's got us down in the relegation places where we're familiar with that, so we're quite comfortable there. Out of that lot, then, come on then. Who's going to walk away with the league?
Billericay for me.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And any others in the top 3?
Oh.
I think it's weird, isn't it? I think Chatham are going to be up there. Dartford have got a lot to prove, but they've got some issues going on behind the scenes there. I'm going to say us. I don't see any reason to fear anybody. And whilst we are a big name, we're still an unknown quantity to quite a number of those sides. So I can see us doing some things. Yeah.
I think I will go for Dartford, and a bit of a left field one. Don't know why, but Ramsgate.
Right, okay, Lee, you're second and third. I don't think you said them, did you? Then you were just pontificating. I got bored after a while, must admit.
Yeah, me too. I'll go for Dartford and City.
Dartford and City. Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
Right, okay. I think Billericay is, as I say, a good shout for the title, but we can't have the 3 of us agreeing. So I'll go with someone else. I shall go for Dartford. Second, should have looked at this earlier, really, rather than do it now. I'm going to go for third place. You're going for Kent Club in Folkestone with Dartford as well. I'm going to go for Folkestone in third place.
Oh,
wherever they're playing. And second, I've gone Dartford winning. Oh, well, certainly not going to go for us. I don't see us winning it.
You take your time there, mate, don't you? It's not as though
I'm going to have to.
This is prime pod material, this is, mate.
Right, okay, I'll go Billericay second.
me.
Right, okay. But do you see us in the playoff places?
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely, I do, yeah.
Yeah?
Didn't we say this last summer?
Yeah, because I don't.
Based on what?
We're almost there.
Yeah.
With that side, but not quite. Well, of course, it's difficult because the friendlies weren't against sides at our level, so you can't fully tell. One lower one, we absolutely annihilated them, so that's fair enough. Well, we may be. I don't think we'll be too far away, so maybe a little tinkering with it here and there. We could be there. We shall see. Right, have you two got anything on the pricing row that continues?
Wow.
I believe you have.
Does that mean that you have?
No, not particularly. Just general thoughts on people. You keep hearing people saying, I'm not going to go anymore. I bought a season ticket for 20 years. I'm not going to buy one again. I'm going to spend money at Harpenden Town instead. And things like that. And people just doing away games. Whether it all comes to fruition or not, we don't know. But the dissatisfaction is still very strong, isn't it?
It is. I think we saw that on social media, didn't we, Lee, over the weekend? On Facebook, certainly a lot of responses, and then on Twitter, I think the responses weren't well, people couldn't necessarily reply to the post. I think it's fair to say. So, yeah, and I think a lot of people we've spoken to are planning to go to games, but they certainly no one I know has got a season ticket, the typical adult season ticket that normally would, and they'll be sort of playing it game by game. So yeah, the arguments are still there, aren't they? And I think a lot of fans are still very disappointed and annoyed about the decision.
Well, the price of the adult season ticket is shameful and unacceptable. There's no two ways about that at all. Even the concession season ticket is more expensive than the adult ticket for 14 clubs in the division. The whole of our pricing has gone bizarre, absolutely ridiculous, makes no sense at all, and done without any thinking, common sense. You can get now getting for £16.50 if you buy your ticket 48 hours before the game, which is ludicrous. If the weather's in doubt, as a travelling fan, you're going to think, well, I'm not going to spend that money 2 days before the game. Or you can get him for £16.50 at 2 o'clock, it says. I don't know what you're supposed to do for a midweek game. You're supposed to get down the park at 2 o'clock and sit there for 5 hours looking at an empty space. But why? Why is a game worth £16.50 an hour before kick-off? And it's 18 quid a minute later. What's the difference? It's absolute nonsense. And the rip-off doesn't stop there. Look at shirts. I looked at the prices for replica shirts for just 6 clubs in the Conference National League. I didn't cherry pick, I just picked randomly, and we're more expensive than all 6 of them. Chattam on Saturday, it's 60 quid for our shirt. Chattam Saturday, their shirt is 45 quid. So you can bet your bottom dollar we're going to be the highest in our division again. Why? Why have we got this ridiculous structure in place? Can you two try and justify it at all? Or
well, there is
whatever?
no justification, but I think I think that the club, their refusal to budge after the fans forum, you can see that there's very hardly any take up in comparison on the season tickets, and I'd be shocked if anyone shows me evidence to the contrary of that. The flexi ticket seems to be a bit more generous, but again, so the pricing that you've highlighted there, Dave, the match day pricing, it very much it just feels as though the club are just trying to fudge their way through this again and trying to think up new ways of trying to upset people like Jake and yourself. It's just a case of, but people have now decided, and as you say, your contact, that email there isn't the only one. There are people that we know who will not come to home games now. And all this was highlighted, and we've been over this, but the match day pricing is one thing. The season ticket pricing, the club thought it was doing something, and it hasn't worked. And I think that should show them something now, that fans won't be taken advantage of. There's only so many times people can ask to go to the well and fork out yet again, because to make up the difference of the relegation, it's just not feasible. It wasn't a good look, but again, that's been and that's gone. The fans have voted with their feet. There's no way the uptake on season tickets was anywhere near the club wanted it to be. End of. Match day pricing is fine. It's the same as what it was last year. They've put a few sort of, stipulations into it, but again, it's the same price. My concern is that now there are people who just won't go back, and I feel sorry for them, because shirts are shirts, Tabs. You can choose to buy a shirt. You can live without not wanting to buy a shirt. You can't live without wanting to go and watch your hometown team, right? And I think that's where people have felt let down, genuinely let down. People are now going to watch other teams. They're giving other teams their money rather than a team they love and supported for decades, because of the arrogance and ignorance of what had gone on prior to the fans forum. So the club have to live and die by what they've done. It's their decision. They've not backed down when they could have. It's disappointing, fellas, and I don't see it getting. Look, if we start winning games, Dave, then all this goes away, doesn't it? Because no one's going to buy a season ticket mid-season when the season starts. So the pricing is the same as last year. Okay, yes, there's less games, and the opposition is inferior on paper, but ultimately, if you're winning games of football, mate, fans are going to come through the gates, irrespective, in my opinion, of what division you're in.
I can't agree with pricing's okay. Paying £18, same price as last year. We've been relegated. The club just won't accept it has been relegated. We are playing at a lower level. We've got players in who come from a lower level, and we're still paying top dollar. Even with a discounted price of £16.50, that is 65% more than the club's charging the cheapest price to get in this division. It's still 10% higher than the second highest clubs are charging. And when you put 18 quid on it, it's what, 20% higher overall. It is not acceptable for our supporters to be treated this way, taken for granted, and basically just ripped off, saying, right, you pay that and watch your local club or you don't go. That is not the way to build friendships with your supporters.
I agree to. I've got an email here, and this is to both of you. It's a bit of a long one, so bear with me. This arrived a couple of weeks ago, so apologies for not reading this out a bit earlier. This is from Chris. Hi, team. Apologies if you've mentioned this point, but I missed it if you have. Dave keeps banging on about our good attendances last season and therefore deducing that we must be rolling in cash because of it. It should be noted that matchday attendance and drink sales once a week are not enough to cover the cost of running a football club. Hemel, Eastbourne, Aveley, etc. have a revenue stream 6 days a week throughout the year from hiring the 4G pitches and having the facilities to hold meetings, parties, events, which significantly boost the income throughout the year, which we do not have. On the income front, please ask Jake, what is it that the Trust do to help in this department? I joined the Trust 3 years ago. I've never had any contact through email about away travel, events, fundraising for the club. I've never been contacted to renew membership. Why are there no social events, summer open days, quiz nights, and so on? Selling a few raffle tickets to win a box of chocolates each week isn't going to help bring the ticket prices down. I don't particularly think the pricing policy announced was a great move, but I think there's just more to digest. Good rant. Good show, guys. Keep up the good work. See you at the park. Go.
Jake.
Well, it's good timing for the Trust, actually, because we are now going to be publishing a Trust membership newsletter. So that's great timing. Conveniently, and it actually wasn't planned at all with that email for once. So that's very useful. So we'll be sharing more information via that for members. So that is actually going to be brand new. So it's definitely an area that we need to improve upon, and the Trust will be. And just a point to advertise the Trust, we're trying to improve things. We're going to be getting that set up and trying to get more activities going. I don't know, Lee, your little name on the podcast, join the Trust. Encourage fans to get involved because it is an important organisation within the football club.
Yeah, I think so. Strength in numbers as well. And I think that you get a real gist of what a Trust is about when you've got your backs against the wall and when fans are so disgruntled about something that's happened. I was disappointed to see the Trust not take a more sort of vocal stance in the fans forum last month. That was disappointing, considering that, you know, they've encouraged people to email in and submit their questions, and yet none of them were read out. That was disheartening because you're calling, it's a call to arms, and yet you've done nothing with it. So it's good to hear that the Trust are being proactive now. And I know that, Jake, you know, yourself, likes of Aaron, God forbid, and Julie, and there's some real proactive people behind the scenes there. So I think it's important to join the Trust, make your voice heard. If you've got a grievance to have against the way things have been handled over anything this summer, join the Trust, show your hand early, and rise up and add your voice to the hundreds of people that have aired their, you know, grievances over social media or in person at any point. So join the Trust. It's going to be great. They're trying some good things, you know, and they're really going to make it worthwhile in terms of giving the supporters a God's honest base and a voice towards the parent club. So yeah, join the Trust. It's pence in comparison. So yeah, it's a good thing to do. That could be your good deed for the day. Join the Trust.
Getting back to Chris's letter, he's dead right about those clubs with the plastic pitches. I got extra revenue streams from that, but we haven't got. And also our clubhouse, it's been such an awful situation since it's been there since, 1949 or whatever it was. It's awkward to get to. It's not great. And he's right. The income from those is limited. But our gates are so good. Unfortunately, this club is not open and transparent, so we don't know what sort of revenue it's getting. We don't know what the budget is. We don't know the outgoings left, right, centre. And you go onto the accounts and those figures are not open and transparent either, which is very sad to treat supporters that way. But when we're getting these sort of gates and we're not competing, where is the money going? I believe at the forum, the chairman said we only get 20% of the profit from each of the vendors around the park on match days, which you raised an eyebrow early, and I think quite a few people did who have heard that comment and would like to see some facts on that as well. But a loss of income, somebody else has spotted. We haven't had a new major commercial sponsor for something like 2 years, which coincides with the club's lack of funding. And all the boards, he said, no new boards down there. We're getting companies coming back again, renewing, possibly at a lower rate suggested. So that income stream, commercial side, is not living up to what the club was hoping for. And that is helping to hit our revenue streams. I haven't got any details on that, but it's something that somebody noticed. And when you look at it, yeah, that seems feasible. So
what I would say, Dad, sorry, mate, I had a really good chat with the new commercial fella at the club, and I like what he's trying to do. He's not going to change things overnight by any stretch. And I think that so prior to the Arsenal game, I don't know whether you noticed, the boardroom was heaving, and they held like a networking event in the boardroom prior to the Arsenal game. And it was good. Those are the sorts of things that will ultimately help bring in revenue, but that takes time to do that. Established business connections take time, whereas, just making sure your prices are right from day one, the fans will come flooding back in. So I think being a bit tread carefully in terms of the commercial element, because the club have had 4 or 5 over the last 2 years. So, I don't think it's the 4 or 5 people that have been bad at it. I think there's just a structure in place where they need to thrive and do their thing right. So look, it's not great in any way in terms of getting money in, is it? But it's difficult. And people are going to have their hands tied as well, because the owner's going to want to have a seriously good say in how the club is run commercially. But we'll see. Hopefully success will bring confidence and hopefully more money as well.
Well, it's interesting you say about high turnover of commercial staff, high turnover of media staff. Why is it happening? Volunteers leaving this summer. Why? But that's an issue for another day, perhaps.
I think so.
Indeed. Oh, I think we've made the people suffer enough.
We made ourselves suffer enough, mate.
Indeed. Anything else you'd like to mention, Dave, before we go? Dread I ask?
No, I think we've covered enough in the last hour and 10 or whatever.
Lee, anything else?
I just want to say that, Dave, I've just got a message from the man from Del Monte. He wants his hat back. That's been up there behind you for the last hour and 10 minutes. If, like Chris, you've got something to say to us and you want it aired on the podcast, young Jacob is going to give you all the information about how to get in touch right now.
Indeed. Podful of Saints on Twitter. Thank you to everyone that's been engaging and replying to us and keeping up to date with us. Really appreciate it. Email in the description below. And I think that is it for this week. So thank you all for viewing. I'm looking forward to seeing that hat at Clarence Park on Saturday. And we will speak to you all again very soon. So come on, you Saints, and goodbye.